Alright, well, hello everyone. My name is Haven, and today I am playing Invite Me In. So, walking home alone one night, you meet an injured stranger in need of help. So you do what you'd hope anyone else would do for you in that situation. You invite him in. So apparently this is a horror visual novel with elements of action, thriller, and romance depending on how you play. So I imagine this is probably going to have multiple versions. And it says this version of the game is 10% of the full game. So there is a full game. It has 5,500 words, one CG sketch, nameable player character, gender neutral, different choices to discover. Alright, so this has the whole shebang. So I guess with that being said, we're going to jump right into this. So it'll be interesting. I think I played a game similar to this, but it always ended up the same regardless, I think. So I don't know if this will in fact have multiple choices for endings, but this is roughly going to be like a 30-minute game, I would imagine. Read. This horror game induces fear, not recommended for those easily disturbed. If needed, please read the content warnings before continuing. I think we got it, right? Roughly. Let's read content warnings. This game contains gendery behavior, stalking, manipulation, harassment, and violent tendencies, self-harm, blood violence, suggestive themes, sudden tone shifts, and other material made to induce fear. If you are sensitive to any of these materials, please reconsider playing. And vice versa goes to you. If you feel like this is too much for you, don't watch. You have been warned. Okay. I have to know your name. Just put Haven. Haven. As the sun finally sets, the lengthened shadows all begin to bleed together until everything is covered in darkness. My path is only illuminated by the occasional street lights, and I start to become nervous again, like something bad is about to happen if not treading with caution. I start picking up my pace as I get closer to home. I didn't plan to be out for so long, especially not at night all by myself. The grocery store bag clutched tightly in my hand seemed much heavier, even though it only carries a sole jug of milk that I desperately needed before leaving the house earlier. Now I'm wondering if it was really worth the trip. Turning the corner just leads to another dark road. I debate whether I should slow down to prevent tripping or just break out into a run here and now. You know, I've had that problem before walking home at night, especially when there's like dark areas where there's no street light. When I was younger, I always felt so scared. It was so crazy. But obviously nothing ever happened. But, you know, it was just those unsettling thoughts of somebody might be lingering in the dark. But it's just a couple more blocks, then I'll be back at home. For some reason, nagging at the back of my mind, that didn't feel like an appealing solution either. If something dangerous really was just out of view, going back to an empty house was just like throwing a blanket over your head to keep the monsters away. It's moments like this I wish I didn't live alone. But I'm probably just anxious for no reason. I don't have any evidence that someone is really trying to hurt me. Just these paranoid feelings in the back of my mind that I should ignore. I really have to stop trying to freak myself out. All it's doing is causing me to lose sleep, which makes me more on edge. Focusing on getting home is the only thing I need to worry about for now. Then I can eat dinner, chill out, and finally get some much needed rest. I cannot speak. Just as I was about to turn down the last street, I see a figure sitting next to the sidewalk a few feet in front of me. I immediately stop walking and try to get a better look before getting any closer. I hear the blood start to pulse faster in my ears. They are almost full hidden from view, so I didn't have much of a chance to see them from farther away, and they are perfectly still. I feel the fear rising in me again, and stay frozen in the same spot, my muscles tense, waiting to see if this stranger makes a move. They do nothing, and since it's so dark, I can't even tell if they have seen me or not, though I keep getting the feeling that they are staring right at me. It's terrifying, but I can't just stand here forever. I want to go home. Swallowing the lingering morbid thoughts and stirring up some bravery, I begin to walk again until I am only a couple feet away from the stranger. Once I'm closer, I can finally make out some of the vague details of their face, his face, and we make eye contact. I flinch back a bit after seeing him look at me, but then I start to notice something strange. He's curled up in the grass, clutching his arm tightly into his body, and I begin to hear him his heavy, uneven breathing breaths over my own. He's hurt, badly. But the, as soon as I see the state he's in, I'm not only more worried than before, but now also heavily concerned for his well-being. Hello? Can you hear me all right? Are you okay? What happened? For a moment, he just keeps looking at me. His expression is unreadable this far from any light source, but he must feel scared too. He doesn't respond. At this point, I feel he may be really, really injured. Maybe he can't even understand me. Just as I reach into my pocket to try and call for help, he finally speaks up. Sorry, something happened to me earlier. I was just trying to walk home and I'm a bit hurt right now. A bit hurt. He doesn't seem like he's doing well at all. Do you need help? Can you walk? He leans forward and begins to push it on his arm like he is trying to stand up, but he quickly winces and sits back in his original position. It hurts. My arms really hurt. My legs are okay though. How did you hurt your arms? Is anything broken? Broken? I didn't break anything. He shifts uncomfortably on the ground, trying to make his body to a more upright position. He looks at me a bit nervous. It's easier to see his face like this. And his face is, I would say, pretty pale. I don't want to say a bit cute too, but we're just going to kind of go tame with this one. So, pretty pale. He says nothing is broken, but something else is definitely wrong. It seems his injuries are causing him a lot of pain. I don't really know what to do in this situation. Do you need me to call an ambulance or get you a ride to a clinic? If it hurts that bad, then you may need some serious help, even if you don't think it's broken. No, it hurts a lot, but it isn't anything worth a trip to the hospital. I'll be fine with just a bit of time to rest. Is he really going to be okay with this, or like this? I want to help him out, but maybe he really just needs some time to recover. Are you sure you'll be okay? Yeah, I appreciate the concern, but it truly isn't an emergency. Well, okay. I'm glad it's not that bad then. You should really be more careful. Getting injured on the side of a road like this late is really dangerous. You're right. I'm really glad you're the one who came along. It seems like I had nothing to worry about earlier. To think, I was so scared of him. I thought I was going to end up being mugged or murdered, but it ended up being a total overreaction. And now I'm just having a normal conversation with a stranger sitting in the grass. Well, that isn't too normal. But I still don't really know anything about him, and he still seems pretty worried too. Damn ants. I should try to calm him down a bit more so I can help him better. He isn't going to tell me anything like this. What's your name? My name? It's Devin. He seems really shy about it. I feel kind of bad asking now. That's a really nice name. It suits you. There's no way. I think your name is much nicer. My name? I'll be like, wait, what? How do you know my name? I didn't tell it to you yet. Oh, you didn't? I'm sorry. I must have thought you said it already, and it slipped my mind. I feel a bit embarrassed. I hope you don't think I'm insincere now that I complimented something I didn't even know. But I'm certain your name is nice. That's all I was saying, or I was trying to say. Sorry to confuse you. It's fine. I was just a bit caught off guard. So, what is your name? I feel a bit hesitant to tell him now, but I really shouldn't fault him for an honest mistake. It's Haven. Haven. That is a nice name, just like I guessed. You would have never guessed that. I will say that much. Devin is now more focused on his sudden blunder than the pain he's in, which is a bright side. It seems that the conversation helped a bit, even if it's somewhat awkwardly. He looks off to the side, trying to distract himself. Talking to a stranger like me seems to make him pretty nervous. As a sort of anxious reflex, he begins to mess with the sleeve of his sweater. He just ends up wincing in pain after pulling on them too hard. Seeing someone be miserable like that, I can't stop myself from asking him about it one more time. Do your arms still hurt to move? Yeah. Devin tries to move his arms again, then gives up quickly. He pulls them back into his lap in a comforting position. Will he be able to make it back somewhere safe soon? It's horrible his arms hurt too much to even make it home. I feel the best way to just hurry up this interaction is to help him out quickly, then head on home. And the more he sits here in the dark, the more feelings of pity begin to surface. Talking to him has been a bit weird, but I can't help the gnawing feeling of concern for some reason. I feel a bit bad just leaving you here like this. Here, let me help you walk a bit closer to your house. You shouldn't have to sit here in the dark. My house is still a bit of a walk away. I should be fine. I feel better already after talking to you. It seems I may have been a bit worried after all. At least let me walk you to the bench nearby to rest. It's better for you than just sitting on the ground. You'll me? I really appreciate that. I just need some help standing up. Then I'll be okay to move on my own. Helping him up seemed like an easy enough offer, but actually finding a good way to lift him up gracefully was harder a task than I guessed. Setting down my grocery bag of lonely milk on the sidewalk, I walk a bit closer to Devin. We both look at each other trying to figure out the best way to go about this. I want to lift him up without hurting him or making him uncomfortable. Eventually he moves his legs until they are bent under him, almost in a kneeling position. Then I move beside him, wrapping my arms around his torso. As I increased the pressure of my hold on him, his breathing became even more labored and unsteady. His body becomes incredibly tense despite how carefully I try to lift. Are you okay? I'm trying not to touch your arms too much, but let me know if anything hurts. It really doesn't hurt that bad. I can barely feel it. Feeling a bit more reassured after knowing he's okay, I give one final lift until he's up on his feet. We did it. I feel like if I offer, it might end up leading him to my house. So I should probably go with this, maybe? Hopefully you're all good to go now. Now I should really be heading back. Before I can even finish what I was about to say, Devin begins to wobble over after trying to stand on his own. I quickly reach back over to hold him steady, and he ends up leaning back into my arms, clutching my shoulders to keep from falling. What happened? Are you okay? Yeah, I'm okay. Are you sure? I can call someone for you or get you a ride to a clinic if something is wrong. I think it's just my blood pressure after sitting there too long. I'm fine. Honestly, fine. Do you think you can try walking on your own, or is that too much? I think I need a bit more time before walking on my own. I can just sit back down if it's too much trouble for you. I'd be lying if I said I'm not a bit tempted to take him up on his offer. But a small sense of guilt stops me from being back on my promise to help him. It's not too much trouble at all. If you are okay with it, you can lean on me while we walk to the bench. I don't know how much you feel like moving right now. If I have your support, I'll be okay to move. Okay, I'll try to walk slowly and not put too much strain on you again. We move in a side-by-side position where his arm is over my shoulder as I wrap my arm around his back. I'm surprised there's no vehicles that have come by yet. The walk continues at a steady pace as we get halfway down the street. I feel Devin's breathing as he pushes against me for stability. It seems to still be quick and heavy. His body also feels cold and damp. Just how long has he been there by himself? Is he really okay? I look over to glance at Devin's face, which is completely pale, with a small smile creeping onto his lips. The image is almost frightening with the state he's in. Like he doesn't even know how bad his condition is. No, like he doesn't even care. He notices me staring, and his unreadable gaze meets mine in an instant. It feels like he can read every thought and intention running through my mind. Suddenly, his eyes soften as his grin turns more friendly, but the off-putting paleness is still there. You really are too kind to me, even helping me walk. For a second, I feel I can't move. I can hardly breathe while looking at him directly. As I said, no trouble. I have to force myself to turn away from him and continue to focus on the walking. But I can still feel him right next to me as my heart hammers faster in my chest and I pray he doesn't notice. Maybe I'm just imagining it. Maybe it's because we've met in such a weird situation, but he looks at me differently than anyone else I've ever met. I strengthen my resolve and begin to push forward again. We finally get to the end of the street and turn the last corner. The bench is just a few feet away. Here we are. You should be able to rest right over there. I gently pull him over until he's able to safely sit down on his own. He seems a bit shaken up still, but he's much better off on a clean bench near a street light than on the ground in the dark. Thank you for taking me all the way here. It was so considerate of you. Even though Devin says that, he doesn't look relieved at all. I feel a bit guilty ending it like this, but just how much more can I really do? Hell, he didn't even want me to do this much. I'm glad I could help. I really hope you feel better soon. It was nice to meet you, Devin. Just as I'm about to walk away, his hand suddenly grabs mine. I wonder what to choose. I wouldn't be aggressive about it. Even if I was feeling creeped out, I would still be like, well, maybe he's grabbed my hand because he doesn't want me to go. Maybe he still needs me. He just wants me to be around. So I'm kind of conflicted between these two questions. Believe it or not, if my frame rate looks lower, like with the camera, it is because it's jumping between 13 frames and 17 frames per second. So I don't know what it is with games like this, but they drop my frames down for some weird reason. So I'm gonna go with this one. I'm gonna be at least very passive about it. I have to head home soon, but is everything okay? I look down at our hands as he slowly lets go of mine. I guess he grabbed my hand without thinking because he quickly places his hand back in his lap nervously. Sorry, I just thought you should know. Your grocery bag. My grocery bag? You left your grocery bag behind earlier, so it's still on the sidewalk. I looked down at my empty hands and realized that yes, I did leave my milk behind. I had nearly gone home without the one thing I came outside for. I guess it is easy to forget stuff after the eventful evening I just had, but I still feel a bit silly. Wow, I really did forget all about that. Thanks for reminding me, Devin. I'm going to go run back and grab it now. I'll see you on my way back. Before he had much of a chance to answer, I started running to the street corner we just came from. I make a turn and begin walking back down the previous road where I left my milk. I'm really glad that Devin said something because I would have felt so ridiculous once I got home. It was the only reason I came out here and went through this wild evening after all. It only takes me a few seconds to find the lonely bag sitting on the sidewalk. The time makes me realize just how slow we were walking before. A distance that felt like it took ages to traverse was really a short jog. I quickly glanced over the milk to make sure it's still in good condition, and the jug looks perfectly fine. It was only out here by itself for a minute, but better to check than drink bad milk. I scoop up the bag inside my arms and start heading back. I should really say bye to Devin before heading home and checking on him one last time. I run back to the bench and see him sitting there just as I left him. Well, something seems a bit off. He seems just as unwell as ever. In fact, he's not even looking at me now. Is he ready for me to just leave now, or does he even know I'm here? I step a bit closer so I'm right in front of him, and I try to duck down to get one last look at his face. Well, I got my milk, so I guess I'll be heading back home now. As I said before, it was nice to meet you. Get home safe, alright? Just as I'm about to leave, I finally noticed the dark stains forming over his sleeves onto the rest of his clothes. Earlier they were small enough that they could be mistaken for shadows, especially in the dim light, but now it seems much more obvious. Is that blood? Now it's impossible to ignore it. The panic hit me like an anvil as I felt my heart drop. I looked down at the arm I had used to help support his body when we walked over here. There was a smudge of crimson streaks across my hand that I didn't see earlier. He was bleeding. He was bleeding so much. It didn't seem possible. How did I not notice how bad it was? There was blood dripping down his hands now. Did I make it worse? Did I hurt him while carrying him here? No, I didn't mean to hurt him. Will he be alright? I lifted Devin's shoulders to look at his face. His eyes seemed hazy, like he might pass out soon. You need to get to the hospital immediately. I'll call an ambulance. Why didn't you tell me you were bleeding this much? What happened to you? It's just a little bit of blood. A bit of blood, it seems like much more than a bit. Is it really that bad? Are you worried about me? Yes, now show me how you got injured. I walk closer and try to reach over to grab his hand. Suddenly, Devin moves up from the bench and stands in front of me. Haven, please just listen to me. I need help, but Devin seems to inhale deeply, like he's trying to rise all the courage and willpower he has. I want to rush over to help him sit back down safely, but I feel frozen in place. I just examine his face, waiting for a sign to grab or steady him again. His eyes glance at mine, shifting from assessing to pleading, like he really needs to tell me something. He still seems physically weak, but it's almost like he's even more energized now, like something in the past few seconds totally revitalized his conviction. We both wait as he finally gets his bearings. Will you please hear me out? Okay, so before I continue, I'm gonna grab me some water because I'm really thirsty. I've been talking, and so my throat is dry. Alright. Now it's not so dry. I hesitate for a bit, but my curiosity and suspicion makes me want to hear why he's been acting so strange this whole time. Maybe he really does have a good reason, and I can't deny he truly needs help. Yeah, I'll listen. Devin steps a bit more into the light and raises his arms halfway to the air. It's like he's trying to reveal the injury without moving his sleeves, like he's trying to shield me from just how bad it is. But all I see is more blood, and he seems to sense my concern. I didn't want to worry you too much, but it seems the state I'm in looks quite bad. To be honest, it hurts really bad too. He grimaces as he looks down at his arms. Maybe he didn't even let himself think of how painful it was before. I didn't want you to know. My arms are so much worse than I let on. Then why don't you let me call for help? Someone did this to me. They were trying to hurt me. Someone hurt you? Who? Devin looked at me with a pained expression. Then he stares at his arms again, looking at the stains forming along his sleeves. A stalker. A stalker? What? Are you being serious right now? I feel my blood begin to run cold. Out of all things, a stalker. It's true. I didn't really know what was happening until it was too late. Next thing I know, I'm on the side of the street and bleeding. My arms hurt so much, but I couldn't move. I was afraid I was going to be found again and killed. But then you found me instead, and I felt safe. I hope you understand, but I really can't go to the hospital like this. I could tell my attacker would know that's where I need to go, and they'd try to find me there. So I'm too afraid. I just thought of it happening. I was about to argue with Devin, but seeing the fear in his eyes and the way his body is shaking, I don't have the heart to disagree. It's okay, Devin. I understand. You're not going to call for help, right? No, not if you don't want me to. But why can't we call the police? You might be in real danger. Police? I really don't think that's a good idea. It makes me too nervous. Plus, I don't even think they would take me seriously after not believing me before. Looking at the blood continuing to drip from his hands, I feel like it's hard to not take Devin seriously at this moment. But if he feels so certain about it, I shouldn't doubt him about this either. There has to be some solution, right? He can't just deal with this by himself and risk getting hurt even more. I want him to be able to get help. His life could be at risk. I don't think I could go home only to see him on the news tomorrow. Then what are we supposed to do? We can't keep walking around like that. I just need someplace safe. I really don't think I can just be home alone while someone is after me. If there were some basic medical supplies, I could make it work. I've patched myself up from worse. It feels like an inadequate solution, but my mind is racing too much to think of a good alternative reason for myself. I may end up regretting this later. But one thing I know for sure, I can't just leave him here like this. I may be terrified, but that's nothing compared to what Devin is going through at this moment. I've been on the edge the past few weeks with thoughts someone had been watching me, but he's been living it. I feel a bit silly trying to relate. You know, and it's so crazy, because obviously we all know how this story's going to end. Devin is obviously her stalker, or my stalker. And so the fact that we've been feeling someone stalking us for a while, it's like it's all right there in front of us. And so it's like now the stalker's playing the victim and acting like they have been stalked, and so obviously this is their way to lure us into their house or into our house. So it's very interesting the way this is kind of layered itself. So let's keep going. I can't help but feel a sense of connection though, like it was fate that I happened to be the one here to help him. If anyone would know what it's like to live with this fear and how it can affect you, it would be me. And very ironic, to say the least. And wouldn't I want someone to do the same for me if I was ever in such a dangerous situation? As I've been going through my reasoning in mind, Devin has been staring at me with a hopeful expression. If you need some place to go, you can come to my house. Really? I can come to your house? I have a first aid kit I bought recently. I'm not sure how helpful it will be, but it's better than nothing. Yeah, that'll work fine. Sorry, I can't believe you're really helping me. Me? Damn ants. I'm not going to leave you out here alone, or just hand you off to people you don't feel safe with. I really do want to help you, Devin. We stare at each other for a moment, assessing this bizarre situation that's been laid out in front of us. But the look on his face, he seems so happy, ecstatic even. This just shows that I definitely made the correct choice, right? Or did I even have a choice to not help someone in this moment, this much peril? It doesn't feel like I did at all. I try to push down any feeling of uncertainty and move on to the next objective. So, we shouldn't stay out here too long, right? Isn't it kind of dangerous? Yes, you're right. We should leave right now. Devin's head whips around to survey the area, but he seems quickly satisfied. I think we're safe, but it's best to be careful and hurry along. All right, then let's go. I instinctively walk over to Devin and lean against him, moving my arm across his back. Haven, what are you doing? You still need help with walking, don't you? After all this, I can't have you falling over me. Of course, sorry, I nearly forgot, and it surprised me. Devin moves against my arms, and we begin to walk together again. Maybe it's from doing it before, but it feels easier this time. My house is just a few buildings down, so don't have to wait too long. And then you can stay with me for the night and call whoever you need to call in the morning. This is really too kind of you. I don't deserve it, but at the same time, I can't reject the offer. Don't feel bad for it. I really do want to help you. Is there a reason why you want to help me? Or are you just the type of person who would help anyone? Devin's face looks a bit upset when he says this. Does he think I have weird motives? I'm not really sure. I just think if I were in your shoes, I'd want someone to look out for me like this. I bet there's someone who would do anything for you. The strange compliment made my heart thump quickly in my chest. I try to ignore it, but soon it's all I hear. To distract myself from the noise in my head, I look out into the darkness, try to search for any stalking figures. I make sure we aren't being followed, and there doesn't seem to be another soul in sight. For the past few weeks, I've constantly been seeing moving shadows and feeling eyes on the back of my head. But for the first time in a while, I don't feel anything at all. I feel safer. That's because the stalker is the person we're helping. And as I finally see the front of my house in view, I think the rest of this wild night is going to actually be okay. Boy, were we wrong. You have reached the end of the demo. Thank you for playing Invite Me In. So this is obviously just a demo. Continue the game and see how the rest of the night unfolds later this year. The hearts above give a clue to the path you are heading on. I don't know if that means anything, but alright, so that was... yeah, it was about 30 minutes. So that was Invite Me In. Very interesting to say the least. I'm very interested to see how it really plays out. I'm kind of curious to see. When does it come out? They said later this year. But I wonder if they actually have a date set. And I don't think they do. Yeah, because, I mean, I'm looking at the page right now. They don't. But I cannot wait. It seems like it's going to be a very interesting game. And maybe I will get my hands on it. Maybe I won't. I don't know. It just depends on how things play out. So if you guys want to try the demo out yourself, I will put it in the description below. And with that being said, I hope you guys have a lovely rest of the day. Drink plenty of water like I have, because my throat is dried out. And I will see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.